All right, guys, today's podcast I'm super stoked about because this is a conversation with Tom Reber from the Contractor Fight. The man is a rock star. He's a legend. He knows what the hell he's talking about, and he's going to exactly address the contractor fight, which is the fight in between our ears. The mindset that it takes to be a top contractor, the mindset that it takes to overcome obstacles, negative, self-talk from others, negative self-talk within our freaking head. The game is, it really is a fight, and it's a fight starting with ourselves. So pay attention, be on the podcast, take lots of notes, and let's win this fight together. Talk to you soon. Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life. All right, everybody, welcome to another No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors, and I'm super stoked to have the rock star, the machine, the rock, Mr. Tom Reber on with us today. I really wanted to bring Tom into the mix because he's coming out with a new book, and it's relevant for every freaking contractor out there. I think almost every human out there. But today we're talking directly to the contractors. So if you're listening on this, you're at the right place. If you're a contractor looking to improve your contracting business, whether that's profits, whether that's, just overall, improving your contracting business. But I think the big thing that Tom's going to be talking about today is improving what's in between your ears. So Tom, welcome, brother.
What's going on? I appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely, man. It's an honor on this. I've got Liam with us as well. He's my right-hand man. He's very keen on the skill set with on the sales front, running our sales team, as well as an expert coach. So Tom, you're coming out with this book, man. It's love the title, love what it's all about, and it's how we think about ourselves, which we're going to get into, is super, super critical. So tell me, what's the name of the book? What made you write this baby? And then let's get into the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. The title of the book is Winning the Contractor Fight, and our company is called the Contractor Fight, and we named it that because of the territory between our ears, right? The 6 inches of battleground up there that we all have to fight through and win every day. And that's, I believe that's the heart of any success that we want to have, no matter what you do. And so it just made sense to call the book Winning the Contractor Fight. So it comes out end of October here, and super excited about it, man.
Now, here's one of the things, right? When you and I deal with, our companies deal with tons of contractors, right? You just talked about, you had a gathering of like 350 contractors, and you tell me if I'm right, but I mean, one of the last things that they would come up to you and say is, "Hey, Tom, can you help me with what's in between my head?" Or do they come up to you and say, "Hey, Tom, I need a fix for my profits, my cash flow, and I can't find anybody." Like, so you pick this topic of, the in between our 2 ears here, as far as headspace. What do you think is the reason that, contractors don't talk too much about this?
Because it's hard, and our ego's in the way, and we want to protect ourselves. We want to look cool. And, what's funny is every time I get on a stage somewhere and there's a bunch of people in the room, whenever I talk a little bit about what I've had to battle through between my ears and this and that, I usually have a quarter to half the room of grown men coming up to me, many with tears in their eyes, going, "I thought I was the only one that thought like this." So that's really why I wrote the book, is just to go, if you're alive, if you're a human being, you got some battle going on in your head. And I'm not a brain doctor. I'm not a shrink or anything like that. I just know enough to know that I got to take care of this and get it dialed in and feed it the right thoughts if I want to get certain results in any area of my life. And so, but yeah, you're right. Everybody comes up, goes, yeah, my sales suck, or I'm not making money, or I can't find people. All of those can be traced back to how you think.
100%. Totally agree. Liam, can you relate to any of that? Because you were a contractor at one point, just like I was.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, again, if you're looking at running a contracting business, or even like if you're looking at us running a coaching business, or Tom, right? Like you have to look at it, I think, from a mindset perspective of the fact that this is a marathon, right? This is not a sprint. I think a lot of guys are trying to sprint through these problems. So they have this mindset of like, oh, if I just get my sales system in place, right, then I'm okay. If I just hire that one guy, right, like then everything will be okay, right? If I can just get home 1 hour earlier, my wife will, be less of, it's like,
right.
It's like they treat mindset like, it's like it's symptomatic when it's like, no, like we're gearing here for the long haul, which I think that's what you teach a lot of guys about, Tom, right? Is like, this is a fight. You have to get up every single day. It's like 13 rounds. You got to win every round, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot about, everyone and their brother for years have been talking about win the day. And one of the things we talk about in the fight is win the moment. Like if you want to win the day, you got to win the moment. And the moments compound. And I read something years ago and I read it and heard it in a coaching session I was in personally. And the question that was posed to me was, and we do this all the time now. So I'm stealing it from somebody years ago, but we all have this ideal someday out there, whether it's our relationship, our health, our business, our bank account. And I was coached to picture that someday and then just simply ask yourself the question several times throughout the day, what does that future require of me in this moment right now? And that's how I keep it fresh on my brain as I go throughout the day, because it's one thing to wake up in the morning. Everyone's got their morning routine, right? Their sexy morning routine that they all write books about and stuff like that. And
those morning routines are a job, man.
Yeah.
And
then you walk out into the world and you get punched in the face. It's like the minute you walk out your door, you're in the tank, and it's, so it's motivation, we know isn't enough. It's the habits that you develop. And so I've really worked on developing the habit of asking myself, what's required of me right now to have that future that I want? I mean, it's even in our relationship, my fiance and I, the other day, I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't a big deal, but like there was all right, I'm going to get real here. I have a thing on my phone here that I read to myself every morning. And one of the things, I got this from somebody else. See, I just copy people, right? We all just copy people, make shit our own. There's nothing new under the sun. Well, one of my never do it again things is, where is it here? Here it is. It's an affirmation. I am in control of my emotions and don't let them bitch slap me. It's right there.
Nice, okay? Dude.
And so I read that to myself, and there was a moment, and it was so stupid. I don't even know what it was anymore. And I remember I was going to engage. I was going to let my emotions take the situation over. And that habit of just going, all right. We have this great relationship. I want us to have a great relationship. What's required of me right now? It was just like a split second thought, and it just dialed me back in. So it's that habit of, just feeding your mind the stuff that it needs to be fed so that those become beliefs, actions, and results.
Dude, you're giving me a flashback of a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mm-hmm. And I think it's Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
And he says, a lot of people, when he's dealing with them, all they do is just react, right? Mm-hmm. He says, one of the principles you have to learn if you really want to become a strong-minded human being, right, with wisdom, is you need to increase that distance between stimulus and response, right? And, when you're talking about whether, you're talking about your fiance, I mean, you could have just, you could have allowed yourself to be bitch slapped and just responded to that, right?
And I have many times, by the way, which is why it's on my
thing.
Too. That's why I read
exactly.
Exactly.
Well, it's easy. It's human nature, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, so you've got this amazing book, okay? And I love
Well, let's just preface for people listening, Andrew. It's not like Tom like sat in his basement here and made this book up. Like Tom's been helping people for years. Like
Yeah,
this is, I assume, Tom,
absolutely.
based off like your work with
Absolutely.
all these contractors, you've seen these trends, right? Like you've seen these patterns.
Yeah. So we talk about everything from owning your crap, that, you know, you don't have progress without truth, you know, and owning your crap isn't I suck at marketing. Well, why do you suck at marketing? What is the root character issue in you that makes you suck at something? You know, and it's usually lack of discipline or, you know, crap like that. And I share a lot about that. We do dabble in some of the numbers and profit and money and marketing and sales a bit here and there, but we do it from more of a mindset and storytelling uh, um, approach rather than this is how you market your business. You know, like to me, just the overall in marketing, the mindset is you got to be your own biggest fan, plant your damn flag every day and attack that shit 365 days a year. All the how-tos and the strategies and the tactics of marketing, they're going to change throughout the year, right? Throughout the years, like shit's going to work one year and it's not going to work the next. So, but that overall foundation of how I approach my marketing as a business owner is I'm relentless and I'm fanatical about it. And so that's what I was really trying to get through. But we touch on all these things. And like you said, I started this thing like 2 years ago. It's only like 130 pages or whatever. And I started it 2 years ago and I ran into a roadblock, my own head trash. I literally ran into this situation where I'm like, I haven't accomplished anything. What do I have to share? And blah, blah, blah. And you start negative self-talking your way out of writing the book. And then we went to an event earlier in 2021 here, the Queen and we left this session one day and we walked back up to the hotel room. She looks at me and she goes, you need to write the damn book now. And that's what I appreciate about her. She doesn't BS me. And she's like, you've been lying to yourself. You need to own your crap and sit down and write the dang thing. When we get home to Colorado, you're going to set your alarm for an hour earlier. And when that thing goes off every morning, I'm going to shove your ass out of bed and you're going to write for an hour a day. And I literally did that. And the book was done in like 10 days.
Yeah, right away.
You know what I mean? And it was just done. And I didn't overthink it. So listen, back to the negative self-talk. Like, you know, one of my coaches is a guy named Ben Newman. He works with Alabama football and Kansas State and a bunch of pro athletes and billion-dollar construction companies. He's the performance coach. And, you know, he's drilled into me that you have to, that number one, negative self-talk, your self-talk is number one, saboteur. Is that the word? Saboteur?
Yes,
Did I get that right?
Yep.
All right. Of your success. And then he talks about, he has a great book called Uncommon Leadership. I recommend people grab. And I bought like 20, 30 copies. I think I've sold a couple hundred for him, but I personally bought like 25, 30 copies and sent them to my team, my friends. So I'm that dealt in. But one of the chapters, he talks about standard over feelings. Like so many of us, we let our feelings dictate how we show up every day. Like, so my feelings were, I'm not enough. I have nothing to share. I'm stupid. I literally was in special ed for 2 years in grade school, rode the short bus for a couple of years, carried around this baggage that I'm dumb I'm 52 and I carried this around for decades with me. And that's how I felt about myself. And one of the things I've been coached on is you got to create that standard for yourself. How are you going to live? I call it my code of conduct. You know, is what I call it now. When I was in the Marine Corps, in the military, there's a code of conduct. And, you know, mine are things like live unafraid, you know, be like water, lead in kindness, be here, give all. These are all things that are part of my code. Mediocrity dies today. And this code, and your success doesn't give a shit about how you feel that day. Are you going to do what you need to do in the moment or not? How many days out of the 10 do you think I felt like getting up an hour earlier and writing? 0, right? But it's the standard over my feelings. And that's been probably one of the biggest game changers for me personally is that commitment to my code. And I encourage everybody I talk to, you got to create your own damn code of how you're going to show up.
I love that you've given a specific tactic. So anybody listening, we got thousands of contractors listening on this podcast. Number one, I want you guys to realize you're not alone, right? We all have freaking head trash and Tom's nailing it, right? Big time. he's given a tactic. We talk about this is no bullshit podcast. You're getting actual strategies here. So you don't need to go and implement 300 fucking things. Pick one thing, before we finish up, as you're listening to this, pause it and say, hey man, I'm going to do that. So Tom just gave you gold. Okay. So create your own.
Cost $0.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, I don't. Hey, Tom, here,
I
try
can't
this
afford it,
one.
Tom. It's free.
I can't wait to hear what Tom says about this one.
Okay. Uh-oh. Is this a pop quiz?
Oh yeah. So Tom, hey Tom, it's me. It's Mr. Contractor. I don't have time to do that. I just man, I get up every day. I'm just gonna just do the best I can, and that's basically it. What would you say to that, Tom?
Well,
be real, man.
Yeah, no. Anytime somebody tells me they don't have time, I tell them they're full of shit. We all have time. We all create the space for the shit that's important to us. And if you want to know what's important to you, look at your calendar and look at your wallet or your checkbook, right? Like how we spend our time, how we spend our money. I would also say, I get it. There's a lot of demands running a contracting business. It's really hard sometimes to identify where you need to put your time. If hard work were a prerequisite for guys kicking ass and being more profitable and having great lives, contractors would be the wealthiest people on the planet. But just working hard is not enough. You got to be working hard on the right things. And that's where the importance of a show like yours or mine or our communities and the way we coach people, you got to hang around people that are a quarter or a half a lap ahead of you to show you what's possible. So I get it initially. See, I think I did a post or a blog or something on this, and it should have been a chapter, and I didn't make this a chapter. I don't know, maybe it got in the book, but anyway, I talk about when I hear I don't have time, sometimes that's code for me of somebody saying, I just don't trust myself to be disciplined to do what the fuck I need to do. You know what I mean? Like, I just think I think it's a cop out. I don't have time. I'm so busy. I don't know. You don't trust yourself to set clear targets, live by your damn code, and be disciplined. That's the bottom line. That's what it is for me.
I think people really struggle with this time thing. You guys struggle with a lot of other things, but I mean, if you got to say to yourself, if this is some form of a code, I mean, Tom, maybe there's some form of a code where you would say, only work on things that are worthy of your time to fucking work on. Right. Yeah. Now, that doesn't just mean work. That means family. That means, right. So like Tom said, hey, look back at your calendar. Honestly, guys, anybody can look back at your calendar. I don't give a shit if you're driving in the truck. I'm not getting you to sit down for 3 hours and do a freaking time study. Look back and go, hey man, did I really, put in the time on the things that were worthy of my time? So like, Tom, you look at them taking this book and, looking at these strategies that you have in there. So much of our decisions all of our decisions are based upon our thoughts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a little, I guess it's an acronym we call in the fight TBAR, TBAR. And your thoughts become your beliefs become your actions get you the results. All right. So back to me, my short bus special ed, I'm stupid for many years. Those were my thoughts. Now we have 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day is what the experts say. Most of them are on autopilot subconsciously. And most of them, believe it or not, like some stats say that about 90% of them are negative throughout the day.
Wow.
And these are just so if you have rounded up to 100,000 thoughts, maybe 10,000 of them are positive or neutral. Okay. According to the studies. So when I look back, I had all these subconscious thoughts that I was stupid. Rode the short bus, blah, blah, blah. And then I grew up in an environment, very loving family, but Rebers never make money. We're always going to be broke. Like that was just the language of my family growing up. So take the stupid thing for me, because I was telling myself that I wasn't smart. It became a belief. You will not act in conflict with your beliefs. All right. So then I was not taking the actions to prove to myself that I wasn't smart. So here's an example. I've had business partners that I didn't open up and share what I was really thinking. I've had relationships in the past where, I didn't always share how I felt, because at the root level, I didn't believe I could trust myself because I thought I was dumb. Like, it's crazy when I look back now. So I wouldn't take the actions and speak up. I wouldn't engage. I didn't try in school. That was inaction because I thought I was dumb, believed I was dumb. I wouldn't engage in what I perceived to be intellectual conversation with people. I would hide from it and run from it because I didn't want to be exposed. And what that got me was a few decades of being miserable, broke, insecure, lacking confidence, despite being in the Marine Corps, being a decorated Marine, despite building a successful business and all this other stuff. I was still had that baggage dragging around. So your thoughts, so talk about money, right? If you tell yourself, I can't charge that much in my area, all my customers are cheap, I can't find employees, nobody wants to work. If you're telling yourself these things, you believe them, and then you'll act in accordance.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly. And I don't know how the shit works. It just works, and I'm like real high DI on the disc. So I don't need to know why the reasons it works. I just know that it works and I do it. And so, so I would encourage people, like, be super. That's why my legacy statement, man, it takes me like 3.5 minutes to read this thing out loud to myself every morning, and I got things like, I am in this moment. Like, that's on there. I got to drill it in my head that I'm going to be in the moment that I'm in. Be where your feet are. I've got things like giving away $1 million a year. I've got, I shared the emotions one. Some of these are personal. I'm strong, lean, and dominating my health. All my fight team members make a certain dollar amount a year. I want every one of my team to make over 6 figures. All right. These are just things. I have my purpose on here. My purpose is to encourage, educate, inspire, and equip others to live unafraid. That's my purpose. That's why I'm here. I have a prayer I recite every morning. God, open my eyes to your truth. Use me to love, heal, and protect others as you want. That's why I'm here. That's what I want to do. And I have to drill this shit into my brain every day, and check it out. Every day I drop the ball a dozen times in some area of my life, right? We all do.
So why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep doing it?
I'm terrified what I'd be without it. Because I've been without it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I had shitty relationships. I had low self-confidence. I didn't take risks. I was broke, fill in the blank. I was like a magnet for misery for several years of my life, and again, these are, some of these things are just like goals for life and business. Some are like personal things of how I want to show up. And why I keep doing it is you guys know this, you get more of what you focus on, right?
100%.
It's that simple. Your reticular activating system, like, you tell it what's important. If I'm telling it this shit's important, I'm going to find more evidence of it in my life. That's why I keep doing it.
So this RAS, right? The reticular activating system, maybe a lot of people don't really know. They're like, what are these guys geeking out? Are these guys trying to be psychologists or something? No, but it actually exists, everybody. I'm going to get Tom to just elaborate a little bit about this.
All right, Liam, what's something that's important to you right now?
My baby.
Your baby. Okay. Your consciousness is telling you you're focused on the baby, right? I love the baby. So you're going to find more opportunity in your day to love up on the baby. Back to the hiring thing that everyone and their brother's freaking struggling with, right? Shit, you're writing a book on that, aren't you?
That's it, man.
Yeah, yep. You wrote a book on hiring, right? And
that's it.
Whoever's listening, go buy the damn book when it comes out. But like, if I had a guy, swear to God, he couldn't find a foreman for like a year. Okay. Couldn't find a right-hand guy, decent sized company, few million a year in business. He needed another foreman. Every time I saw him, we talk every few weeks or whatever. Yeah, I just can't find anybody, man. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to go into the trades, blah, blah, blah. Man, I'm in a city of 2 million people and I can't find one guy that wants to come work for my company, and people book an interview and then they don't show up and blah. So what he was doing, he was choosing to be a victim, number one.
100%. Yeah,
exactly. Right? Playing the fiddle, baby.
But back to the RAS, he was telling his brain that this was what was the current situation and landscape. And so his brain somehow found more evidence to prove it right.
Yep.
If that's a butchered way to say
isn't
it.
it funny? Like whenever you talk to guys like that, they're like, and every contractor I know that I hang out with is saying the exact same thing. And you're like, just
so finally
think about that for a second.
So finally I said to him, I said, dude, I don't know how this works, but this is going to work. And I want you to trust me. I said, every morning, I want you to sit down. First thing you do, I want you to write down and then read it out loud. I want you to write it on a piece of paper and then physically read it out loud, carry the piece of paper with you, and set your alarm every 4 hours, have your alarm go off to remind you to read the thing out loud. And it was just 3 times. There are plenty of people that would love to be my foreman and work for me. You know, some variation of that. Okay. Within like 10 days, he had hired a foreman, and that person's been with him for like 4 years now, and they're kicking ass. All right. So again, I don't know how this stuff works. I just know whatever we tell
it's real.
ourselves,
it's totally real, Tom.
Our brain looks for more evidence to prove us right. Yep. So that's why your thoughts are so important.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's when you look at this RAS, it's basically your mental compass, right? And, you know, I love everybody listening in. I'm going to give my little 30-second example and see if it resonates with you. Say, you know, a lot of you tradies are, you know, I like my truck. Okay. Funny enough, you go out and you buy a new truck. So think about the last time you guys bought a freaking truck or a vehicle, but let's just say it's a truck. Okay. So you're in your truck, you're listening to this podcast right now. And I ask yourself this question: the day after you bought your truck, did you magically see more of that truck that you bought on the road?
What, did everyone go buy that truck today?
Like, the same color.
It's like
not only the truck,
color.
in the same color, right? Yes. It's like, oh man, there's a lot of white Ford Rangers out here. Like, that's crazy.
Right. Absolutely. So what Tom is saying is bang on, because what you think about, what you program your brain with every single day is a direct correlation to what you're going to get. If you program and fill your brain with shit, you're going to get shit, and it's going to stink, and it's going to rot, and it's going to rot those around you. It's going to make those around you stink in some form or fashion, right? Whether it's negativity or what have you. So go for it, Tom.
I'm sorry. So all right, I'm going to get kind of real here, and it's scary because I really hope he doesn't hear this, but I'm not going to bullshit yet. One of my things on here is that I never lie to myself or others. Okay. It's one of my things on my code. So, but I think this will be valuable. I had a business partner years ago. We had a great partnership. Things were going well. We're making money. We're profitable. Like, things were good. He was the gas. I was the gas pedal. He was the brake, you know, and things were good. There came a point in the relationship. I think it's when we grew a little bit, we got a little bit bigger, not massive or anything like that, but we just got to the point where we weren't communicating as often as partners, you know, because you guys know business partners and stuff, like, it's a marriage, man. Like, you got to talk several times a day if you want to have a healthy relation. You got to spend time together. When we stopped doing those things for whatever reason, this is hindsight's 2020. I didn't realize this until probably a year and a half ago, and this was over a decade ago. I look back now and I'm ashamed, because what I did is I kept telling myself, he's the brake pedal. He fights every idea I have. He this, he that. I've done this. I did this with my ex-wife too. Okay. Like, whatever, in relationships, you know, she never, you know, you guys with me there?
Yeah, totally with you.
Any more examples,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So I look back at that partnership with my business partner, and I'm like, I sunk the damn ship because of what I was telling myself. And so then my brain, all it did was worked overtime to find more evidence to prove me right. And it created this bitterness between us. To one point, I'm literally in the parking lot of our office one day, screaming at him up and down. I'm like, I'm going to rip your face off and throat punch your ass. Like, I was losing it. That's how bad it got. And it was about 2 months after that, we were done. And so guys, we got to be careful what we tell ourselves, especially about our families, our spouses, our relationships, our kids. honestly, yeah, business is great. Screw the business, right? We can always start another business. But we can't sink the ship on our relationships by the crap we tell ourselves. And so let me rewind, bring this full circle to the short bus. Because I thought I was stupid, I hadn't dealt with those things in my life. I wasn't brave enough, man enough, whatever enough to have a conversation with him of how I was feeling, because I didn't trust how I would communicate it. So I just stuffed and made up a story in my head and ended up sabotaging the business. So I don't know if that made any sense.
You know, it's interesting. You talked about that word, you use that word saboteur, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all, you know, people talk about the devil and the angel, right? Whatever name you want to give that little devil, right? Or that saboteur, we all have it. And I think, Tom, like in your book, you're human, right? If you have it, you're not human if you don't have it. We all have saboteurs. We all
100%.
have these negative thoughts. I mean, Liam, I'm sure you becoming a father, you know, there were some, you know, probably some struggles. And if you didn't have any
100%.
struggles, I'm going to tell you right now, you're definitely, anybody listening in, you're not a father.
Yeah, you're out of touch.
You're out of touch, right, with reality. So,
Yeah,
Tom, you know, if people, who's this book for, right? Who's this book going to really resonate with?
Well, I think it's going to resonate with any home improvement contractor. Honestly, I think, in fact, there's people that have read it that are not contractors that are like, shit, this is applicable. I wrote this. When I look at the contents of it and where I went, I can truly say that I really wrote this just as a way to encourage people to say that you're not a victim. You know, your success is your choice. And I share example after example of how I made bad choices and screwed things up. I remember the first job I bid that was of any size as a painting contractor. And I sold it for 28 grand. And I thought I was rich. It was like my first 5 months of business. I was a one-man show and a couple guys, you know, that I grabbed. And this was a big 7,000 square foot new construction home that was a tear down and outside of Chicago. Long story short, the guy was GC in his own house. It was a total nightmare. I was too much of a wuss to stand up for myself. Didn't have the right paperwork. Didn't know how to price my work, all this stuff. And the job cost me $45,000 to do it. Okay. Which in my world, we go for 50% GP. So I should have sold it for no less than 90, probably 100 grand or more. Honestly, the house was that much work. And I sold it for 28, cost me 45. And the guy's name was Bill. He only threw 17 grand or 28 grand in. I covered the other 17,000, you know? And so, but I don't just share the math of that. I go into kind of like the thought process where we're afraid we're going to lose the job. We're afraid we're not going to be able
100%.
to feed our family and all that other bullshit that we tell ourselves. So the book is really I guess, planting the flag that you're not a victim, right? Like what you charge, who you hire, who you work with, who you work for, you know, all those things are 100% in your control, and quit being a wuss about it.
Great, man. Like, you know what? So that basically means every single contractor that's listening to this, and if this resonates to you, even if you're not, but especially those that are contractors, go out there, get this book. Where do they get this book, Tom?
Yeah. So if you guys, on Saturday, the 23rd of October, it'll be available on Amazon, or you could go to the contractorfight.com/book and get it for free. Just pay postage and handling. So
that's pretty easy, right?
Free's better than paid.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, but
Always.
Yeah, the contractorfight.com/book would be a great place to grab it.
And you know, guys, keep in mind, like it's one of the worst places to be is alone. And this book,
the island, man, it's the worst.
The island, eh?
I was gonna ask Tom about that actually.
Go for it.
Sorry, Andrew. Like how much, Tom, do you think? Because like you can read your book, you can do everything we talked about, right? But like, I think mindset, a huge part of it is environment. I'm just curious, like, you know, we run similar types of businesses where we try and put, you know, good guys in groups with other good guys and girls and have them bring each other up. So I'm just curious, how much of this do you think is you know, the environment portion?
Well, I don't think you can fully capitalize on the wins if you don't have a great community, right? If you're alone, you're never going to get what you need out of life and the changes you're trying to make. All the mindset books in the world aren't going to do a thing if you don't have those relationships. You know, I have a chapter in here called Show Me Your Friends. And in that chapter, I talk about how my life, I had read, this is funny, I was doing a lot of the right things, you know, as a business owner. I was even pricing my work. At some point I got coached up and learned how to price my work and all these things. But this real movement of the success needle didn't come until I got really picky about who I started hanging out with, you know, cause they rub off on you, good or bad. You know, I was talking to one of my kids the other day about a couple of weeks ago about this. I said, dude, you gotta be careful who you hang with. I said, I guarantee you look at somebody who's smoking cigarettes, I guarantee you they're hanging around people that's smoking cigarettes. You see somebody who's overweight, out of shape, you know, and all this other stuff. I guarantee that their closest circle of friends are overweight and out of shape. And the flip side, somebody who's in shape, their friends are usually in shape. Somebody who's got money, their friends usually have money. There was something, you guys might know the data better than me here, but I read something a long time ago that you earn like within 5% of the people you hang out with. I don't know.
No, I've heard that. That's
Okay.
absolutely true.
Something close to that. So
I've been hanging with some like crypto millionaires, so I'm in the wrong. Maybe my future is coming, you know, a crypto millionaire. But yeah, I think it's like, you're the 10 people you surround yourself with have like the biggest impact on you, right?
The reality is that from an environmental perspective, right? You want to be in an environment, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but you want to be in an environment that's greater than the place that you're at right now.
Yeah. You want to be in an environment that's going to be inspiring to you, right? You want to be able to, I mean, you probably guys have this in your coaching groups, right? A new guy comes in, they get put in a group, they look at a guy who's been in for a while and they're like, boy, mister, maybe someday I can be like that, right? It's inspiring. So you want that environment that's going to inspire, but you also want it to be an environment that's going to call you higher, call you on your shit, you know, make you uncomfortable from time to time, because that's when you grow. I personally, my tight circle of friends and stuff that I hang out with, there are a lot of times percentage wise, they might kick me in the face and get after me 5% of the time. And the other 95% of the time, they're my cheerleader. And back to don't be on an island. Being on an island sucks. You know, we need people to inspire us, to encourage us. And I think the root of the word encourage is to put courage into. I think if you go back to the very root of that word, so just think about that. Like as a leader, our job is to encourage our kids, our spouse, our teams, whatever it is. It's to put courage into them, because fear knocks us around all the time. So I don't know, man, I'm vamping on that one right now.
No, you're hitting the nail on the head in all aspects. So start wrapping this baby up. I guess, you know, Liam, what's your top, you know, couple of takeaways or things that you would want the audience to think about or hear?
Well, get Tom's book, number one. Easy. Number two, get our book. No, I'm joking. But I'm actually serious.
Oh, bullshit. Get your book too, man.
Yeah, get both books, because guess what? You can never have enough books.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me is like the way that Tom's just like habitualized it, right? Andrew, you talked about habitualizing success, right? Like you can default these things into your day, right? Like these are like Andrew, you talked about above and below the line. Like I think a lot of what Tom's saying is if you choose to live above, like, or below your code, whatever that is, right? It's personal. Right, as a choice, you know, whether it's in your personal life or your business life. And then I think the biggest thing too is, like Tom said about the speaking events, right? Like you're not alone. Like we all think that we're like, you know, what's the saying, right? Like I thought I was the only person. I thought I was the only one dealing with this, right? Like you're not alone. Everybody else is struggling with this. And funnily enough, Tom, as you know, because we see the back end of contractors' businesses, usually it's the guys who are bigger, doing more revenue, who have a bigger team. They're way worse off usually from a mindset perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because they have way more stress and anxiety.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. They're scaling a big unprofitable turd, you know, and it's like,
that's a great description, man.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. I talk about scaling in there a little bit, and I talk about, scaling's this sexy thing. I want to scale my business. And when somebody says that to me, I go, well, what do you want to scale? And they're like, what do you mean? My
everything.
business. I go, what do you like? Do you want to scale your profit, your revenue, your time off, you know, your team? Like, let's get specific here. I think a lot of, because again, we see people's numbers and the back ends of their business and stuff. I see most companies and owners really happy when they're actually just maximizing what they have. And I'm not saying don't scale. When I say this, people think I say don't scale. I just go, no, why would you want to scale something that sucks? Like, I don't know.
Scale the suck versus scale the success, right?
Yeah. And so, but it's getting clear. I had a guy, I think I talked about it in the book. He reached out and he's like, yeah, I want to build a $5 million business. And I go, why? He goes, so I can pay myself $250. And I go, so you can't pay yourself $250 unless you're doing 5 million in revenue. And it was this really, he didn't hire me. This was like 3-4 years ago or something, a couple of years ago, whatever. He didn't hire my company because I wouldn't get excited about growing to 5 million. I'm like, well, what do you really want? And long story short, he wanted the freedom. He wanted choices. He wanted, it wasn't the $5 million business. That's and right. So, I know people that do $1 million, $1.2 million a year that put 600 in their pocket because they're really clear on what they want. So,
So Tom, what would be your last couple of takeaways of people listening in to take that next step, in getting your book, or take the next step in getting their head in the, out of the trash can and into the right place? What would be your last couple of
level
words
up
of wisdom?
Level up your community. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit. Like, join your shit, join our shit, find somebody else's stuff. I don't care. Get around other people that are thinking at a higher level, that are going to call you higher. They're going to challenge you. I would say that. And I would say, be real, own your crap about where you're at, because every single one of us has it. You're not alone. And once you get it out in the open, it's so freeing. And I guess the final thing would be look for something uncomfortable every day. Do
Great
something
advice.
uncomfortable every day so that you keep growing. And you have time, you have plenty of time to work on you. Get oxygen, feed yourself first. The king eats first. Okay. Because he's got a kingdom to take care of. And, don't, and I'll end with this story. Somebody Google this at some point. I think the last name is Dyson. He was a Coca-Cola CEO years ago. And I read this it was like literally like a 30-second speech that he did somewhere. And I'm going to butcher it, but you get the point. He says, in life, we're juggling all these balls, right? You have your career, you have your marriage, you have your kids, you have your health, you have your extended family, whatever. He says, all the balls are made of glass except your career. He says, that one's made of rubber. He says, that one will always bounce back. Don't drop the other ones. Okay.
Great
so,
advice.
we need to, as contractors, we're such good people, but we need to quit stealing from our families, time, money, memories, things like that. I heard the other day on a podcast, guy said, your family gets the best and everyone else gets the rest. Okay. And I think, I know that's where our hearts are as contractors. That's why we work so hard. Okay. But give them the priority.
Tom, thank you so much, man, for being on this podcast. I mean, it's, we both have an abundance mindset. I mean, we're both helping people in this space and they really need our help. My last little thing is, take that one step to move yourself in that right direction. If that's just pick one of those things that Tom talked about, whether that's, what's your code of conduct, because again, right, if you don't have a code of conduct yourself, you're going to have somebody else's. And, like they say, it might not be in your best interest, to have theirs. Right. Yeah. So Tom, congratulations on your book launch.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best success, and all of our clients and everybody listening in, definitely reach out, get this thing. Your head is one of the first places, the place that you have to, get control of and master before you can master anything else. And we will see you guys on the next No Bullshit podcast for contractors. Catch you on the flip. Ciao.
Hey, Rockstar, I hope you enjoyed that one. And if you did like this one, join our private Facebook group, Profitable Contractors Association. It's one of the biggest communities for contractors with over 10,000 members, where you get the latest insights to help you delegate, dominate, and deliver so you can take your contracting business to a whole nother level.